It's still connecting to the cloud server. We'll start over. Okay. Welcome everybody for another hands-on session as part of the Journey Builder Bootcamp. Got session number 7 today. We are going to be doing an abandoned cart journey build. Let's just review some of the great sessions that are still to come in this Journey Builder Bootcamp. For the deep dive series we're currently in, we've got a couple of cool sessions coming up. Tomorrow we're going to be doing customizing Salesforce CRM with Journey Builder. Next week, TikTok ads and building AI-driven journeys. And then every week, as you may know, we have these hands-on sessions every Wednesday where you can join. You'll be granted Marketing Cloud, if not Sales Cloud access for the day, and build out these solutions. So next week's session, which was scheduled for this week, but there was a conflict on Sandesh's side, he will be diving into building the Wait Until event, which is probably going to span over 2 sessions. So let's talk about what we're going over today. Abandoned cart journeys. For those who may have attended the session last week, just a little bit of a review of what we're going to build here today. Abandoned carts, for those who might be familiar with it, those people, it's a popular email send for anybody who shops on e-commerce and puts items in their cart but doesn't end up purchasing those items. That is an abandoned cart. And so the use case is a e-commerce company wants to engage with their recent cart abandoner to see if they can get them to purchase. Why are we focusing so much attention on abandoned carts? It's a big audience, especially on the e-commerce side. About 70% of all shoppers abandon a cart. And it is the most popular, the most productive email in your email tools, the abandoned cart email, nearing up to a 20% conversion rate. So very important if you're an e-commerce company to have an abandoned cart email. We're going to be going through how to set up the abandoned cart today using the Marketing Cloud template, using a API call to trigger that API event journey. How an abandoned cart works really depends on your instance, but here's sort of a breakdown of some of the key data points. You'll need that order feed that's coming from the website that will identify the cart items that are abandoned. Probably will feed that into an automation that's going to be using an FTP to pull that data into Marketing Cloud. We're going to want to feature, at least more than one, so multiple cart images. So we're going to want to create a custom table in the content that's going to display the cart as many items that were featured, and if possible, offer a discount depending on, when they abandon that cart, and also communicate over time, multiple times. So today's session, we're going to go over a couple of different steps. So step 1, we're going to build our API entry source. So we're going to take a look at that Marketing Cloud abandoned cart template. We're going to create a basic data extension, which is going to feed the data that's going to be added to that entry event that's going to be triggered via an API call. Part 2, we're going to create a basic journey just to get the pipes connected. So we're going to create an entry source and just a basic decision split. We'll add the email and the logic later. And then we're going to test sending a subscriber through using the Postman API tool just to make that connection. And then we're going to move over into building the content. Once we've got our data, knowing how we're going to start that email personalization, we're going to map out our data sources and our personalization path to not only send the email, not only personalize it, but to display that custom cart, and then add any additional fields to the entry data extension based on the personalization. So taking a quick look at the data sources once we get to that point. So the entry data extension, which we're going to create today, that's that TBD at the top here, is going to include 2 key fields, that subscriber key and the email address, the bare minimum of what you need to actually send an email. Now, we have these data extensions that are already set up in the environment. These 3 data extensions, which are going to provide certain data points for the personalization. This universal data extension is going to be able to make that connection to find out the name of the subscriber, and any sort of our connection point to the rest of the data extensions in the environment. That subscriber key that's connected to the data extension also connects to this cart feed, which is a row by row detail of every cart that's abandoned by that subscriber. And then that SKU number or the product is linked to this other data extension, this product feed, which is going to provide the product, the image, the price, and a link on the website. So when we build out the content, we're going to be using these data points to do a couple of things. One is to get that functionality so we can send that email and that data extension, send out that email via the journey. We're going to be personalizing it by adding this first name. We may add some custom content based on whether they've ordered with us or not in the past. And then for that dynamic cart, we're going to be displaying all of these items on each row custom to that subscriber. Just give an overview of the data that we're going to be using to render that abandoned cart email. It's complex, but I think once you lay it out, you can sort of see the path there to that. All of this will primarily be built in AmpScript once we get to the email itself. Last but not least, we want to welcome our hands-on builder, Lakshmi. We will have her introduce herself, but what we know about Lakshmi, she is a Marketing Cloud champion, added in 2023. She is the Marketing Cloud Developers Group Community Group leader. She also has been an active participant in our hands-on sessions. I believe at the bare minimum, the Data Cloud Bootcamp, and definitely in the Journey Builder Bootcamp, might be other bootcamps as well. And she's also, as you know, a bootcamp session chat expert, always answering fantastic questions during our sessions. So Lakshmi is one of the, have you share your screen, and if you wanted to give a little bit more background on your experience, history with Marketing Cloud.
Sure, Tim. I don't know that I have so many titles for sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity given. Actually, I will complete 3 years in Salesforce by this December, out of which I have done half of the experience within Marketing Cloud, like 1.5 experience, but I started learning it since 4 or 5 years back. It's just because of these sessions and attending, asking questions, understanding questions, and then answering questions, it has improved my knowledge or awareness over Marketing Cloud. And now I started absorbing the things, predicting the things, and then connecting the unknown dots. So that's the reason why I ask everyone to join the community events. That's for a purpose. It's not just I'm helping others, but I'm helping myself to improve in terms of knowledge, communication, whatever you say, everything. So that's my intro, and I should thank you and JB for this opportunity for sure. Thank you. I will start sharing my screen. And there was one question from Prerna asking about um, the custom activity journey builder today. Are we not going to cover? I said no, but it will be informed. If that is the thing, then
That's correct.
yeah.
Excellent.
I'm just trying to start sharing my screen. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So Lakshmi, I think we'll start in Journey Builder, and let's go we'll go find some of those Journey Builder templates that Marketing Cloud provides, which are super cool. We use that as a template today. Go up in that template tab. Yeah, right over to the right. Oh, yeah, yep. All these cool templates. And so we've got 2 different abandoned cart templates, everyday purchase and then significant purchase. I think we'll go with everyday. That one is a little bit, I think it's a little bit simpler as far as the number of communication points. So super cool, right? It gives you this template and it lays out a typical journey, which is super cool, helping you, inform you that this API event is somewhat typical for an abandoned cart email send. Why that is typical is that you're typically getting an API call from the website with that abandoned cart information, in addition to the details of the cart that might be coming in via automation. Got 2 email sends, which is great because I think it's best practice to, since it's such a highly productive email, it's good to have a couple of email sends in case they didn't place that order for the first send. And then it's got a decision split that also will utilize some logic, which we'll dig into a little bit later about whether they purchased or not. So as we all know, that journey data is stale upon entry. So you want to access some real-time data to determine whether they've ordered or not to send them that second email. So this is a really good template. So what we'll want to do to start is we're going to want to build out the API event. So one note about this template, even though it's laid out there for you, because you have to customize the API event to every use case, obviously they can't build one for you. They wouldn't build the data extension, they wouldn't build the logic around that. So they're sort of just giving you a shell that you want to build out. Same thing for the email content, the decision splits. Those are just basically just the activities on the canvas. So Lakshmi, if it makes sense, I think our first step when we're creating an API event is we're going to create a data extension for that API event to leverage. So Lakshmi, depending on which way you want to go, thank you for duplicating that tab. Whichever way you're more comfortable, when you create a data extension, do you go into Content Builder, Contact Builder, or do you go into Email Studio? What's your preference? And if you're talking, you're on mute. Lakshmi, you're still on mute if you were talking. Okay. While we're waiting for her. Okay, there you go.
No, I'm not able to find the control, so unmute myself. But I prefer to go via Email Studio. And then if I have to change anything, then I prefer the same thing in the Contact Builder while duplicating. So I refresh or I open them in different browsers and then make sure the changes are reflecting or whatever I want to see. But I start with Email Studio subscribers.
I'm the same way, I agree. It feels like Email Studio is a little bit easier to create a data extension, a little bit more friendlier. So awesome. So yeah, we'll go to data extensions. And we do have a folder under hands-on and that Journey Builder Bootcamp. So do you want to create a new folder? We'll call this like abandoned cart email.
We are in DE, right? I mean data extension.
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. And we're going to create a pretty simple data extension. Standard data extension. So you can name this whatever you think makes sense, abandoned cart, API event, or if we want to include the API event, I think that's helpful because we might create an abandoned cart journey in it using like, okay, cool. And Lakshmi, what's the 2506200924?
No, it's 2509, sorry. It's date and year.
Oh, date.
Yeah, because
Thank you.
I really have one task where I do update a SQL query to find some values to run an automation. So it will be the same query. I just need to run the activity weekly or bi-weekly depending on the ticket. So in order to make sure when I run that, or it's not like I can add the number of lines. So I started writing as a part of this ticket. I run this query on the date, comma, next date, next day. So I just edit the description so that I can have the number of versions I updated it or make use of the same query. That's what I do.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll not worry about retention settings for this example, but yeah. And then, yeah, we'll just do subscriber key and email address. That subscriber key, we'll probably have that be like a CRM variable. So 18, yeah, if it's 18 is fine, but if you want to keep it at 50, that's fine.
It should be a primary key.
Well, I think we'll leave it, because this use case, so this will be an abandoned cart email send. That's a great question. Coming from, so you as a customer, if you're shopping at our site, if we have this data extension where it's just going to be growing and growing and growing, you might abandon a cart today and come back and apply for that or qualify for that email send. You might also abandon a cart 3 months from now. So I think subscriber key, if we want to keep that as not as a primary key. What we could do if you needed to make sure that to avoid duplicates, we could have like a GUID, like combination of subscriber key and a date, but we won't go into that complexity today.
Yep.
Does that make sense though, Lakshmi, as far as the primary key? Okay. So if we can change the email address to email, because that will be the definitely an email that comes through. And perfect, yes. And then subscriber key, can you talk about the subscriber key relationship, why you chose subscriber key there?
Because it is the unique one and it will be a subscriber can be entering or re-entering. It's not depending on the email address, which may or which may not change, but the lead ID or the CRM ID, which is unique over the CRM instance, which is syncing to Marketing Cloud. So it would be the send relationship should be on the subscriber key, which we are defining.
Yeah, exactly. That's best practice for sure. So when this email sends, Marketing Cloud is going to be like, okay, I'm going to create, does this subscriber exist in Marketing Cloud? And what they're going to look at is that subscriber key, right? It's going to be that contact or lead ID from the Salesforce CRM environment. If that subscriber key does not exist, it's going to create another subscriber. So you want to have that, you want to be mindful of what you're using here as that subscriber key, because it's going to, like Lakshmi said, it's going to be that golden record that Marketing Cloud is going to determine as that unique variable, that unique field for each subscriber. You definitely don't want to set that, to anything other than a contact or a lead ID or user ID or a subscriber ID or an email address. Sometimes we see clients set that to like even a data extension name, and that can be dangerous because as soon as you send it, that next time if your subscriber exists in another data extension, it's going to keep creating all these different subscribers for the same email address. So awesome. So we'll hit create there.
Yeah, and just one more thing, whenever we are using the synchronized data extensions, the lead ID or the record ID becomes the contact key, which will be acting as a subscriber key in return. That's one more, thumb rule, which I know, which I follow blindly.
Awesome. All right, fantastic. Fantastic. So we've got our data extension to set up our entry event. That's our first step. Fantastic. All right, let's go back into Journey Builder. And let's go to the Events tab, and we'll create a new event that's going to be tied to that data extension. That light bulb. You have to go around the light bulb. Yeah. Perfect.
I never did an API event in Resource.
Awesome, looks good. And then we'll navigate to your data extension that you created.
Yep.
And just to point out, Lakshmi, you were so awesome in setting up that data extension. Forgot to mention, you clicked it as sendable, which was
Yes.
the smart thing to do. That would not appear here if it was not sendable when you're creating that data extension. So make sure when you follow Lakshmi's direction there and click that sendable when you're setting up your data extension.
Yeah, and if you don't
Awesome.
follow here, go back and make it sendable and then find it here. It's a back calculation.
We've done that many times.
Yeah.
We won't have any filters for this use case, so we'll keep it simple for now. We might add one later. We can hit next. I think that finishes it. Super easy to set up an entry event, at least the basic one. We'll be using that event definition key for sure. That's awesome if you want to keep that. Awesome. All right, excellent. So now that we have the two pieces for this component, we are ready to create that entry event. So if we go back to our template and let's save this. Can we actually save this template? Yeah. Sort of, yeah. So let's rename the whatever you want to name it. Cool. Excellent. Yep. So let's see if we can use that. Yeah, we can. That's excellent. So let's select your entry event. Perfect. We're not going to need to filter anything, so we should be all set. Super simple. Click done. Okay, excellent. Part one completed. All right. So the thought is that let's connect this. Let's get some data flowing in this journey before we add like the email, add some of the more complexity, just to make sure that we're able to connect with it. So in this example, you're building, say you're working with the website team. Say they're in a team that's not in Salesforce. It could be an external team. And you want, hey, I want to set up my abandoned cart program. The first thing you might want to do is to get that handshake between the two platforms. Say, okay, let me set up our systems so that we can, intercept some data from you that you might be pulling in for these abandoned cart emails. So this could be your first step, is like, let's create this journey so that we can communicate with our third party, our web team. So Lakshmi, let's delete. Let's delete everything on this journey. Like if you delete that decision split that's there, that'll delete everything to the right.
Oh.
And then we'll delete the email send. We're going to come back to that as well. And then the one thing we'll go back and add back in here is a new decision split, just so we have something in the journey to make sure that something's working there. Yeah, we'll just drop that in there. Let's click into that decision split. And we'll call this path test email. And then we'll hit edit on that. We'll go to the journey data. We'll pull that up. That pulls up that data extension. We'll drag over that email address. So we'll typically use, if you're working with a client, if they have, we'll use their domain So you could say, email address ends with, at yourcompany.com. But because we're using test records that don't have a specific domain, Lakshmi will go back to what you had set up before, which was is not null. Perfect. We'll hit done. We'll hit summary. That all looks good. We can keep remainder as is. You can remove, let's change that wait step from 1 hour to, let's just change it to like three minutes. Another good thing to have, so there's two things just to mention here, just general journey basics. Having that 3-minute wait step, sometimes you might want that to be like 10 minutes whenever you're doing testing. That allows you to, when you turn on a journey, you're feeding people through, you'll be able to see the data, all of your entrants populate in that wait step before they actually do the activities to the right. So if you're running your data and for some reason you make a mistake and 1,000 people enter your entry event when you only had meant for 10 to enter, you'll see that populate in that wait step and you can stop the journey. And so that's kind of a nice thing to have there. And then obviously the decision split will prevent, live emails from being sent as well. So Lakshmi, let's just change those 1 days to 1 minute, just so that if we need to send you through again, it won't take an entire day. Perfect. Let's go to our cogwheel. We'll set up the journey settings. Yep. And we'll do this one re-entry anytime, right? So actually, I think I can actually re-entry only after exiting makes sense, right? Sorry. In this scenario, as we're you gotta sort of think through the scenario, like Lakshmi would want to enter in this journey multiple times, but we don't want her to enter in the abandoned cart journey. Say she abandons a cart on day 1, and then she abandons the cart day 2. We may not want to send her 2 separate abandoned cart emails for 2 separate carts. We just want to just keep her in the communication stream for her first cart. But that's a business decision. But we'll leave that as re-entry only after exiting. We'll click done. That all looks good. And then before we activate it, let's hit save. And then when that little green folder, that little green sign pulls up, let's click into that and let's save that. Let's click on that organize and we'll save that into a, yeah, if you could save one more time. Yeah. And then in that little green box, there's an organized. Yeah, there we click on that. And we'll create another folder in there. So if under hands-on, and then under Journey Builder Bootcamp. Yep, we'll create a new folder. Very cool. Okay, excellent. All looking good. You can click the validate button, but I think we're all set just to hit activate on this because it seems like a relatively straightforward journey. But yeah, let's try and see what validate says.
I think even if we click on direct to activate, it will validate first and then activate. Am I correct? Message activity.
Yeah. Those are just friendly warnings, nothing that's going to stop. It would be in red if it was going to prevent us. So perfect, we'll activate this. Awesome. So if you're not doing the, if your team isn't doing the integration between that third party and your journey, you're all set here. What you would just provide to your third-party person is the API event key. And then there's specific documentation on how to make an API call to fire entrance into this journey. But we're going to walk through, like, we're the web team today, and Lakshmi's got Postman hooked up here. We're going to make a Postman API call and send Lakshmi through into this journey, just so we can populate her into the data extension and go from there. Postman's very handy to be used not only for API events, but also for testing triggers end to end as well. So it's definitely a handy tool. So Lakshmi, yeah, perfect. So we'll go to Postman, and so you've got a basic tab, that REST API basics. I think if you click on that tab, let's see if we can rename that REST API basics crude. That tab, does it? If you click on the over there on the left on that right where that's highlighted, where that arrow is in the navigation on the left, a little bit further. Yeah, see those 3 dots? Yeah, let's see if we click there. Let's see if we can rename it. Yeah, let's rename this. Let's name this abandoned cart, if that's okay. Again, this is your Postman environment, but this will be helpful.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, excellent. And so for those who are familiar with API calls, there are 2 calls we need to make. One is an auth call to authorize the send, sort of make that handshake between the 2 environments. And then there's also a call to send the payload, Lakshmi's data, into the API call. So we're going to start first with our auth call. So if you click on that get data tab, we're going to rename that as well. So the tab right, yep, we'll go there and we'll just rename that to, it's auth call. Perfect. And this is going to be in the that where it says get, we're going to be changing that to a post. Yep. And then what we're going to want to do is we need a couple of data points here. So let's go to the body section in that tab. Yeah, click on that body. Now in the chat, I had posted to you the body of the for the auth payload. Yeah, so if you want to copy, you know what, I forgot that handlebar. So let's copy all of that. I forgot the handlebar. So we're going to copy all of, yep, perfect. And then if you go back into Postman, you want to click on that raw. See that right below? Yeah, if you click on raw JSON, perfect. Now you can paste that in there. And then let's add an open handlebar on line 1 before that grant type. Perfect. Let's hit return. Excellent. Sorry, I should have provided that handlebar.
That's okay.
Okay, so there's 3 things that you need whenever you're doing an auth call to make that handshake. 2 of those things are right there in that body, which is the client ID and the client secret. And then the last item that you need is the URI or the URL for that auth URL. So Lakshmi, we're going to go back into Marketing Cloud and we're going to go to the install packages to get that data. So obviously you know where you're going. If we want to go to setup, and then we're going to go under apps, yep, and then install packages. We won't walk through the setting up of an install package. We're going to use an existing one. They're relatively straightforward to do that. I think there's a previous hands-on session. If anybody's interested, we can reference it. Okay, we're going to go down to the very bottom. I think there's a wait until event, yeah, API. So we'll click into that install package. That one's been set up for us. Okay. So the first thing that we need is that we're going to grab that. Yeah, let's grab that client ID that you've got there. And we'll go back to the Postman. And we're going to do that in between the quotes. perfect. We'll go back to the secret. Perfect. And we'll go into there. Perfect. Excellent. And then the last part is the auth URI, authentication-based URI. So if you just click that, it'll copy for you. And we're going to want to paste that at the top in that URL at the very top, right next to the post. Yeah, you can highlight that entire section. We're just going to paste over that entirely. Perfect. And then at the end of that URL, we're going to want to add v2, lowercase v, and then a 2, a backslash, and then the word token. Perfect. That is the payload and the authentication URL. One last thing, if we go to the authorization tab, just to the left of body. So, yeah. And then let's click on that auth type. We're going to want to select bearer token. Perfect. Let's go back to the body. And then let's hit send. Let's see if this works. Okay, perfect. So we've made that handshake, made that connection. What we're going to be taking from this auth call is that token, but we won't grab that right now because we're going to be going to set up the second step on this call, which is going to be providing the payload. So right next to that send button, let's hit that save button, Lakshmi. It'll save the awesome work that you've just done.
Maybe it would be good if you can talk about this 200.
Yeah, so that's a message that basically confirms that there was a successful connection between the two platforms. If you see something that's 400, you'll get some error messaging if something is not correct.
You're talking about this save button here?
Yes, please. Yeah, that'll save in Postman, save your work. All right, excellent, fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to go to your next post data right underneath that abandoned carts hands-on tab. So right under your auth call, we're going to go, yeah. And it's named post data. That's not so bad. We'll stick with that. Okay. And then we're going to go back into that install package and we're going to copy the the REST URI.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I'm going to drop in the chat what we're going to want to add to the end of that URL. So if we paste that into the URL where it says base_URI.
It's hard for me to find the zoom control.
You're trying to get the chat?
I got it. Yeah, now.
Yeah, so we'll paste that URL into that. Yep, perfect.
I'm coming down.
Okay, and then we're going to want to, yes, excellent, thank you. Awesome. There we go. We got the REST URI. Let's go to the body. And I think I provided to you in our body a sample payload. Yeah, in the chat as well for the REST payload. And let me just paste that in again. I'll paste it again in the chat because it was a little bit further up. Awesome. Oh, yeah, you want to keep that handlebar? Good,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, and then we also, yeah, so this is where we can start filling out that information. So yeah, we'll use your contact key. Lakshmi, I think we provided with you a lead ID. Perfect. And we'll use that in two places, the contact key and the subscriber key. Excellent. The API, the event definition key, that's the one you would copy. Thank you for copying that API event. And then the email address that's associated with that contact as well, for that lead. Awesome. That looks good. Let's hit save. Did some good work there. We'll also provide in the channel the documentation. So there is API documentation for all different types of API calls into Marketing Cloud. This one's documentation for how to do an API event call to fire a journey. There's other different syntax for if you want to do a triggered send, for creating a data extension, etc. It's all in your Marketing Cloud Developer API links. We'll provide that in another time. Okay, so that's fantastic. That's all looking good. Let's go to the authorization tab for this call. Let's select token, bearer token, sorry. Okay, and then let's go back to your other auth call tab. Right, this is where we're going to copy the token. Yeah, click in there. Yep, and let's just hit send one more time. That token does expire, so it's kind of good to refresh it. There we go. Perfect. We'll copy that. We'll go back to your post data. We'll paste that into that token space. You see there it says token. Yeah, it's kind of not the best user experience. It's kind of not the best space there. And you can set up Postman to work with environments and automatically populate the token. We could do that in another session. All right, let's go back to the body and let's hit send, see what we get for, fingers crossed. Okay, that's the successful message. 201, it's created. That should have, you know, that's an appropriate message. Doesn't say sent into Journey, but it sort of gives you some, you know, some data there. And let's go back into the journey itself. We should start seeing Lakshmi come into the journey. And you might just need a refresh there. And then if you click on that view event results, sometimes it gives you a little bit of a window. Okay, we've got someone entering the journey. Yeah. It does take a second for that to populate in the UI. Lakshmi, let's go to the data extension that you created and let's just validate that, that you just entered in the journey. Yeah.
One count.
Cool. Let's click into that. Take a look to see. Should be that 00Q record with your email address. Perfect. There we go. Excellent. So I think this is a good place to stop in our next session. What we'll do is now that we've got the connection working, right? We're able to have these two environments talk. Now we can start layering in the complexity of how to build out the email, how we're going to connect this subscriber key to populate all the data, all the different personalization points that we talked about in that schema, to display, you know, like the first name, and more importantly, to display that custom cart on that use case by use case basis. But this was a big first step, and Lakshmi, that was fantastic. to make that connection. From this point on, I think it should be relatively straightforward as far as just building out the content and all of that. Any questions from anybody about what we stood up here today? Let me just check the chat to see if there were any. Forgot to add an email object. Yes, Ogo, that's a good point. Again, we were just looking to connect the pipes so that we were able to get the two platforms talking. And so we didn't really want to go down the road of doing an email. Just wanted to get the data populated in the data extension. With that populated, there's so many options there we can use. Our next step will definitely be to create that email. How to pass custom data in the payload. That's a great point. So another variation of an abandoned cart email, you could pass from the website the entire cart, right? It could be a string that would include like item, image, link, quantity in a long string in the field that you could parse out in your data extension. What we're going to be using is a scenario where you're getting this feed from a third-party data source, and that data source is also feeding in Marketing Cloud through an FTP to populate that cart data based on that subscriber key. So we're going to use that way to link to create that custom data based on the data that we're pulling in. So we're limiting the amount of data that we're being sent by that API call to make it as simple as possible, and then using that data that's coming in via FTP, which I think you would need anyways to use that for the personalization. How do you pass custom data and payload? Right, so hopefully that answers that question. But in real time, how do you ensure you use live emails? We will, when we build out those emails, again, we'll be firing this live on the Postman side to send them in. That should send that email within a couple of minutes. It should be live. And then the AMP script's going to be doing the work to populate the custom table in the email. We'll see that build in another session. Lakshmi, any thoughts, any questions, any thoughts from your point of view on what we did today?
Can I stop sharing, or did I stop already?
No, you're still sharing.
Okay. I want to stop sharing so that I can see the chat, or could you just pull off the co-host?
Sure. I will share my screen. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. There is one thing I wanted to ask. When you have a number of visitors on the website at the same time, how do you consider them as a unique, or how do you differentiate them as unique visitor, or how do you send them respective emails?
Gotcha. So if you have a visitor, say they abandoned 2 carts, how do you determine which cart to send them the email for? Yeah, that's an interesting use case. It may be dependent on the logic on the website itself. If say they go to the say you're running these abandoned carts emails, say they're not just in time, say they're every hour, right? Say you go to a website, you fill out your cart, you leave it, and then within that same hour you come back in again. And typically on a website, that cart will, as you come back to that site, the cart will still be there. But they could, modify that cart, right, and just add some things or delete some things, and then leave again, before the send. So how would the 2 platforms determine which abandoned cart to send? And so that could be based on date. So you could say, I want to send the most recent cart, cart send. So in that scenario, the second cart would be sent, pulled in and sent. If somebody was already in the journey, say that you went to your cart and you abandoned it again, but you're already in the journey, you could have a decision split in there that says, did they update or change the cart, and then you could kick them out of the journey, or also refire them into the journey with that second cart if they were already in the journey. So there's ways around that. Definitely work through it. I think it'd be coordinating your teams, both the Marketing Cloud team and your web development team, to understand those use cases. But a really cool question. Good call. How to handle API errors? Yeah, it's a great point. Obviously, you're primarily going to be handling those errors on the side that is making those API calls. So typically, when you're working with third parties, and they may be sending you some sort of a feed of those abandoned carts that you can run a query just to check to see if they got sent through. You may not see those errors come through on the Marketing Cloud side. So you're going to want to work with your third-party partners who are making those API calls. They should have an error logging in place to handle that if something doesn't end up getting fired. And you can work with them to do the error logging and figuring out on that end. So you're pretty much at the mercy of that third-party group who's making that API call. There's not a lot of visibility that you have on the Marketing Cloud side to say, like, hey, I didn't get something from you. Like, an error doesn't get appeared. If there's no handshake, no data sent, you typically won't see anything on the Marketing Cloud side. So your third-party partner would be the place to go there. Okay, awesome. Great session, Lakshmi. Thank you again so much. You've been such an amazing builder. Appreciate the time. Appreciate you always jumping in last minute. And we'll see everyone tomorrow for our session on customizing CRM for Marketing Cloud. We're going to be diving into the individual email results object, customizing in two ways. One way is the data that gets populated in the individual email result that comes from Marketing Cloud. In the Salesforce CRM environment, we're going to be creating custom fields and modifying Marketing Cloud so it populates those custom fields. And then we're also going to be going over a way to do a customized preview of an email thumbnail. For those who are familiar with that individual email results in the Salesforce CRM environment, there is a sort of a static, non-personalized email thumbnail that appears. We've got an application that you can download for free that you can do a send time personalized preview of that email and also resend it on a one-to-one basis. So we're going to go over both of those in our session tomorrow, customizing Salesforce CRM with Marketing Cloud. And thank you, Lakshmi, for the documentation.
No, that's fine. Is that the right document, what you were trying to say earlier?
Yeah, I was looking at the documentation yesterday. I don't know if it was in my environment, and it wasn't pulling up. Yes, this is fantastic. That's the auth token. Yep, fantastic, Lakshmi. Thank you for sending that.
I think they can dig down. Yeah, this is the main page. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just have one question when you say we can have the thumbnail once of the email at the same time, right? What was that actually? Is it a custom app what we are going to build, or we can do the customizations on CRM just as a configuration?
We'll be on the CRM side, we're going to be creating custom fields on that object. And then on the Marketing Cloud side, we're going to be capturing those data points in the send log for each email send. And then we're going to be creating an automation and a journey to populate those custom fields on that object back in the Salesforce CRM environment.
And it's going to be tomorrow, right? Or
that's tomorrow's session, yep.
Okay. And then it would be a theory, not a hands-on.
It's a deep dive, yeah, but we'll be in the platform and walking through how that's all built end to end, seeing that data populated in the Send log, seeing the fields created in the Salesforce CRM environment, and seeing them getting populated when we run the journey in the automation.
Yep. Thank you.
Cool. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Lakshmi, and we'll see you all in the next session.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.